Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Anupama, Professor at Department of Economics, Punjabi University, Patiala. I am going to talk about the module Managing Housing and Other Neighborhood Services from Population, Urbanization and Poverty. So students, we are going to discuss about the need, importance and essentials of neighborhood management. Rapid urbanization places remarkable strain on housing and serviced land. By 2030, about 3 billion people, or about 40% of the world's population, will need proper housing and access to basic infrastructure and services such as water and sanitation systems. This translates into a need to complete 96,150 housing units per day with serviced and documented land from now till 2030. For sustainable urbanization, the management of the housing and neighborhood services is very important component. Management of these services involves the organization, supervision, and delivery of goods and services, the maintenance and enforcement of reasonable standards of repair, maintenance, supervision, and provision of acceptable environmental conditions within agreed limits of control and accountability. So, this module aims to throw light on what do we mean by neighborhood management, what are the approaches of neighborhood management, what are the core housing and neighborhood services, the first layer services, the second layer services, the third layer services, the fourth layer services, and why the management of services is required. This module also aims to throw light on the essentials of neighborhood management. There is a strong social component to neighborhoods. People connect with their neighbors in many often unspoken ways: security, cleanliness, the environment, social behavior, networks, and conditions, access to basic services such as schools, doctors, transport, and shops. Neighborhoods provide important supports, particularly to families with children and more elderly residents. They can therefore also undermine that support if conditions are not maintained. The quality of a neighborhood's physical and social environment determines its value and status. The competition to access homes within it, the quality of services provided, and how much people are willing and able to pay to live with it. It is a circular process with conditions influencing behavior and behavior influencing conditions. Poorer neighborhoods invariably experience poorer conditions and lower property values. The quality of services tends to reflect this, but also helps determine it. Therefore, in this lecture, the focus of our discussion will be the management of these services. Defining neighborhood management. Neighborhood management is an approach to service development and delivery which focuses on the needs of particular neighborhoods and brings service providers and local communities together in order to improve services and to develop the strengths and assets of communities. The management of neighborhoods and housing services can broadly follow two approaches. These are service-led approach and the community-led approach. Special programs which offer a lever to establish longer-term neighborhood management are a common and obvious starting point, as they offer immediate funding and the need for locally coordinated supervision. However, they only became effective neighborhood management initiatives when they became part of a core, mainstream, revenue funded, locally based service. Therefore, the two main challenges for neighborhood management are creating a launchpad with at least minimal pump priming funds over several years and devising a long term affordable funding stream within the main public structures. The core housing and neighborhood services. From viewpoint of managing the housing and neighborhood services, these services can be broadly divided into four layers. These layers not only rank the services according to their importance levels, but also determine the division of responsibility from local, regional, and national governing bodies. Now we can discuss these layers. The first layer, which is the layer related with basic conditions. The first layer of housing and neighborhood services include the provision of basic services related with housing, security, and related environmental issues. The list of services under these broad categories is shown in figure 2. The figure shows that the first layer of housing and neighborhood services aims at meeting the basic conditions of the human settlements. These include security, control of nuisance and general supervision, environmental maintenance and repair of damage to public areas, street cleaning, refuse collection and rubbish removal, community liaison, contract consultation and support, etc. The housing management further includes a variety of services such as providing advice and assistance on a wide range of housing related matters. It will carry out daily inspections of vacant properties, show potential tenant vacant properties, check for abandoned properties, accept repair requests from tenants, residents, and inform residents of services available in the neighborhoods. These services come under the direct responsibility of local bodies and the community groups, and there is no escaping public responsibility for management of these services. Residents contribute through council tax and income tax to the provision of basic services. It is possible to levy limited additional charges for specific additional services. Concierges and warden services are often funded this way. The expenses of concierges or the caretakers are generally included in the rent or monthly payments by the owner residents. People readily pay for the caretakers as they typically provide much needed services such as security, cleaning, repairs, environmental care, etc. Apart from these, the housing revenue budgets can support neighborhood management for socially rented housing areas because so many of their responsibilities overlap with neighborhood management. The more autonomous local organizations, such as housing companies, can identify revenue resources within their overall budgets. The second layer, that is that of major public welfare services. The second layer of the housing and neighborhood services are meant for enhancing the quality of life for the residents. These include the services of general as well as higher education, general policing, social services, health, social security, employment, or job centers, etc. Many of these services are more important for the relatively disadvantaged neighborhoods as the richer segment of the society can have an easy access to even far off education and health services. For poorer and middle income households, these services ought to be provided in the neighborhoods. The service of police is also important in these areas as these areas may be more inflicted with crime. This may drive law abiding residents away. An efficient and cooperative police administration is very necessary for winning the confidence of the common citizens and for ensuring their participation in community works. However, one major problem with special policing initiative is that they tend to be withdrawn as soon as more normal conditions prevail. This often results in return of the crime. Therefore, there is a need of sustained, visible, ground level policing which may avoid any untoward incident. Thus, not only the prosperous but average and the relatively disadvantaged neighborhoods also need strong police links and inputs. Further, for inclusive strategies, the social security and income support measures are also needed for the deprived sections of the society. This strategy is also an indirect measure of bringing peace in the urban society, as in a polarized society, deeper deprivations necessarily lead to rise in incidents as well as severity of the crimes. Unemployment is another source of these deprivations. There should be proper records of the unemployed labor force in the neighborhoods, their qualifications, and the type of jobs where they might fit in. They should be regularly updated for the vacancies in the areas through the employment exchanges or job centers. These services can also be supplemented with some training programs so that people can be trained for self-employment. Each of these services is generally nationally funded, inspected, and even organized. But they are invariably delivered within neighborhoods, affect all local residents, and have great potential for impact on conditions and opportunity. Each has its own professional and management structure and cannot be directly run through neighborhood management. However, there is a scope for collaborative effort, local links, and special partnerships. Through proper management at the local level, the local bodies, managers can have a major impact on how they work together and how much they benefit the neighborhoods. The third layer is that of local services. The third layer of neighborhood services include the provision of services related with leisure, entertainment, and the special responsibilities of the local authorities which cover crime prevention, social services, business liaisons, and general well-being of the area. These functions are enlisted in Figure 4. The third layer, as shown in the figure, covers the multiple functions of local authorities beyond the basics and mainline services. However, these services are very necessary for proper function of the neighborhood structures, providing the first and second layer services, for example, prevention of crime and antisocial behavior is very necessary for proper provision as well as utilization of first layer and second layer services. The fourth layer is that of special programs. The fourth layer includes the special programs and regeneration initiatives that are often directed at specific neighborhoods. These also include service initiatives, additional funding schemes such as National Lottery, and targeted area initiatives like neighborhood renewal. So now let us discuss about infrastructure. For efficient management of housing and neighborhood services, the required infrastructure should also be well in place. For this, there is a need of well organized financial, physical, and technical infrastructure. Merely having enough sources of money is not enough. For proper management of neighborhood services, the local authorities need technical expertise and the implementation machinery. Building of health centers, community halls, care services, and other utilities need a lot of infrastructure and investment at the local level. Now the question is why the management of services is required. The discussion so far has shown various layers of the housing and neighborhood services. But the question is why the management of these services is required. There are a number of general and specific reasons behind this. In today's highly mobile and urbanized world, the traditional ways of social cohesion are losing their grounds. We live in increasingly fragmented and complex households within segmented and often highly polarized neighborhoods. We rely more and more on remote and mechanical forms of communication, and as part of this technical change, we have abolished many frontline manual and low skill jobs, reducing informal control and basic services. There is more fear of strangers, more insecurity, and fewer levels of control as people have spread outwards, families have fragmented, and cars have increasingly displaced pedestrians and cyclists. People live isolated lives, do little for others, and in a polarized society, the fear of crime also increases. All these factors make problems of disorder more intense and create the need for neighborhood management. Thus, there is a general need to manage urban neighborhoods differently. To improve environments, increase security, attract back and hold onto more mixed income groups and more families. Urban management can help compensate for the breakdown in more informal controls resulting from radical social change. In short, the need for management of housing and neighborhood services arises from the general and specific problems shown in Chart 1. Chart 1 clearly shows that due to rapid urbanizations, when people move out of the urban centers and there is a little mutual communication with the surrounding population, the urban neighborhoods suffer from isolation, family breakdowns, insecurities, lack of resources, poor quality of services, etc. This leads to the increasing importance of management of neighborhood services. So, the needs of accessibility, security, better environments, basic services, etc. are adequately met. Neighborhood management is also required for meeting the specific needs such as special supports for disabled and elders, sick and lonely couples, and also for intensive management of a particular area, locality, building, etc. Though the richer households may not need the management of these services through specialized agencies, as they have more power and resources to manage these services on their own. But for poorer and middle income households, the collective arrangement of provision of the neighborhood services is far more economical and therefore important. Neighborhood management cannot operate in a vacuum. It requires leadership, political clout, dedicated funds, and above all, the creation of a neighborhood level vehicle in every neighborhood where it is needed. Its importance increases as the provision of a variety of services requires the combination of many elements which are not within the direct control of a single body. A neighborhood manager, or say a leader, is essential to ensure the delivery of services on the ground levels. He or she needs to have the seniority and capacity to ensure joined up delivery across all local units. The manager needs to be able to coordinate housing services, deal directly with the police, link with health, education, social, and other services, and respond to the needs of residents. Schools, shops, bus links, and transport make a vital contribution to neighborhood success, and their interests also need to be encompassed. A neighborhood manager and its team, however, needs a local base from where it can function and management of services can be organized. This base, termed as neighborhood office, is the organizational hub of housing management services. It supports and address community needs, create a secure, attractive, well-maintained environment, and develop initiatives to support community development, expand the resources, and enhance the viability of the area. Thus, the main building block of the management of housing and neighborhood services are the governance structures, the system for implementation, the people, the money, and the infrastructure. Now we can discuss these one by one. Number one, the governance structure. A well-coordinated governance structure is required at local level, which ties in all the necessary partners, giving local communities a key role. It would establish a dialogue at local level, research neighborhood needs and assets to establish a baseline on which to establish priorities and monitor progress, develop a long-term vision and an action plan, identifying clear priorities for local action, allocating responsibility to partners, and or commissioning new services. The second one is a joined up system for management of services. As we have already discussed, that there is a need to have a common location or a single point of contact of the service providers for the residents. By offering space to other agencies, local authorities can also promote new ways of cross-agency working. Community-based organizations and tenant management organizations also offer space to other local agencies alongside their own services. But co-location alone is not enough to ensure joined up working. An area team and its leaders are needed to ensure the local action plan is put into effect. A joined up action also needs sharing of information, resources, as well as responsibility and accountability. The third one is resources for investment in services. For adequate provision of housing and neighborhood services, uninterrupted flows of funds are also required. Some sources of funds at the local level which have the capacity to support holistic working in the long term are voluntary transfers and private finance initiatives around specific joined up projects, a community resource fund with few strings to allow smaller community groups to access funding and to provide matching funds for special programs, local community foundations which can combine public and private money for local purposes, and social investment in community development trusts and similar community-led institutions which provide an income and give local communities ownership of the assets. The service-led approach is actually a top-down approach, while the community-led approach is termed as bottom-up approach. In service-led approach, a number of local authorities join up their services, often bringing together other agencies such as police, health authorities, employment and benefit agencies, etc. These agencies work under a given macroeconomic framework such as the housing, education, and health policy adopted at the center for the nation as a whole. On the other hand, in case of community-led approach, the residents, housing societies, local bodies may work together for enhancing the performance of local services. This approach actually builds the pressures for framing appropriate policies at the center. Some communities are developing resident services organizations which combine the provision of much needed services with the development of jobs and training for local people. As shown in the figure, the service-led and the community-led approaches need not be mutually exclusive. The most effective action is likely to come from strategies which engage effectively at all levels and are able to combine the top-down and bottom-up forces for change. Now we can discuss about empowering the neighborhoods for proper management of services. Empowering neighborhoods is not an end in itself. It is required so that people may have their own voice and authority over their own issues and the services which are required by them to come to them as their legitimate rights and not as the charity by the government. The empowerment of the neighborhoods is necessary for enabling local people to take joint ownership of neighborhood issues, to develop coherent visions and carry them through. It is necessary for helping the community to reshape the delivery of services to better meet local needs, for example, shifting service priorities and practice or joining up delivery. It is necessary in certain cases enabling neighborhood bodies to deliver services directly either on a delegated or devolved basis. It is necessary for civic participation to help improve the neighborhoods. It is necessary for tapping financial resources for neighborhood improvements. It is necessary for improving levels of local social capital, and it is also necessary for improving citizens' sense of legitimacy, trust, and their capacity to affect decisions and outcomes. So students, let us sum up what we have learned from this module. In this lecture, we have widely discussed about the basic concepts of neighborhoods and neighborhood managements. Since we live in a highly urbanized world where the social cohesion is disappearing gradually, the importance of efficient management of housing and neighborhood services increases. These services include the first layer, second layer, third layer, and fourth layer services, which also have a different management structure. The basic idea is that for management of neighborhood services, There should be proper coordination among the local bodies, the residents, community groups, the national and regional governments, and the service providers. This needs a comprehensive planning and therefore the assessment of the local needs and priorities, available financial resources, and the potentials of existing infrastructure. For proper management of these services, the local residents are needed to be empowered so that they can have their direct voice in raising the issues and framing and implementing the plans for the welfare of the general masses. The neighborhood management is doable and it needs vision, energy, and dedicated resources. It must have a strong local focus but a broad remit within the area to give it vitality and scope for radical change. It has major knock-on impacts on the environment, security, jobs on the ground, and service innovation. It could make cities and inner neighborhoods much more attractive. It can be applied and work almost anywhere. It is only through efficient management that the urban living can be peaceful, comfortable, and sustainable. That's all with this lecture. I hope you must have enjoyed it. Thank you.